So Katie Killebrew, she's going to come up to us and talk about trees and how to keep our trees healthy.
Good morning. Thank you for attending. I'm Captain Killebrew. I do the city forester for Clarksville for here in Clarksville, Tennessee. I've been here for, I just discovered the other day was my 8th year here. I didn't realize I had our anniversary until somebody called me and was like, "You've been here 8 years," and I was like, "I guess I have." I didn't realize that. But I've been here 8 years and I've seen some great things. I've had a lot of people ask me, how did you get into the forestry? And I had to stop and think. When I was a kid, I grew up on a farm. It was 350 acres out in Stewart County. And I had all brothers. And they were kind of responsible for all of the farm chores. Of course, I was too. But my dad, he felled a lot of trees and we did a lot of property clearing. And we had orchards and stuff like that. And my dad looked at me one day and he says he didn't have enough help. I'm thinking, well, you got 3 other guys here standing here. And he started me off sharpening chains, and then I just escalated into helping him cut trees down and actually help pruning trees and help taking care of the farm. On that 350 acres, we had all kinds of different animals. I'm a 2nd generation beekeeper, along with Roger. I understand his stuff. I've got bees in my house. Matter of fact, I captured 6 swarms this year. Helped Austin Peay get one over here for them. It was kind of interesting. It was stuck in the car. That was kind of neat. Never had that happen before. So that was enlightening on how to get those out. But I enjoy forestry, and I do a lot of tree care for the city of Clarksville. If you go down some of those streets like Franklin Street or any other downtown areas, most of the trees we are responsible for the city of Clarksville. If you do happen to see something wrong with the tree, please report it. A lot of times there's so many trees in so many different areas of Clarksville, I don't get to hear about it. So pick up the phone, call downtown Clarksville, call Parks and Recreation, call Building Facility Maintenance, and we'll get out there and get that tree taken care of. I appreciate that. I talked about some of the care on some trees. There's a lot of involvement when you're talking about care of trees. People don't understand what trees do for them. Trees actually help with stormwater mitigation. They actually give us air what we breathe. They're very valuable assets for our earth, and if we did not have trees and other vegetation and plants, then we would not be breathing the air we are breathing now. If you sit there and hold your breath, that's what it would feel like if you did not have any type of greenery or vegetation, because you would not breathe at this point. So we need to be very thankful for our trees. With all the construction that's going on with Clarksville, we've seen a lot more flooding than usual, I've noticed. I do a lot of home visits. I try to help the state of Tennessee, the Agriculture Department, and APHIS actually identify some of the pests that we have on some of the trees, report back to them if we have any unusual pests or any unusual type of diseases. Right now we're looking for the emerald ash borer. Has anybody heard about the emerald ash borer? Yes. It's nearby, it's coming to us. If you do have an ash tree, please be proactive and see if maybe you can treat your ash tree. There are different type of chemicals or in tree injections you can treat that ash tree with. Or, I mean, some people just opt to just take the trees out because they know it's coming. It is an invasive species. It's very, very small and iridescent green. It's about, you can fit on a penny, and it's very unusual. Looking color greenish blue. That little beetle makes a larvae that actually will start at the top of the tree, or it will get in the top of the tree, and before you know it, about the time you've identified the holes in the tree, which are D-shaped exit holes, your tree pretty much will have already been dead. It just defoliates it from the top down, and there's pretty much nothing you can do about it unless you're willing to treat that tree. Austin Peay has actually actively treated their trees. I was talking to Wes a couple weeks ago, and they've spent a lot of money treating their trees because they do have a lot of ash trees. We don't with the city of Clarksville, so we're not looking to actively treat ours. The city of Clarksville has been Tree City USA certified for 33 years. We help make sure we maintain that. We do get grants from the state, Tennessee Agricultural Enhancement Program grant. It is a cost-sharing grant. You can see some of those trees in some of the different areas of the parks we've planted. I think, let's see, we planted roughly about 26 trees each per grant. We've upped that this year, and we will be replacing trees downtown. We've opted to replace the ones on Strawberry Alley, some around the mayor's office there at City Hall. We are replacing some, I believe, across from the old courthouse and across from the sheriff's office, with a total of 51 trees. So if you see us out and about this fall, actually putting some trees in, stop, say hi, bring a shovel, we'll let you help. These trees are huge. They're roughly about anywhere from 500 to 800 pounds a piece. They are ball and burlap, and we have to have them brought them in on a flatbed, and we have to pull them in by a skid steer and actually open up the ground and put them in. It takes a little while to do it. It's a very labor-intensive process, and you have to plant the tree correctly, because if you do not plant a tree correctly and you get it either too high or you get it too low, that tree will not survive for the next year. We've been lucky. We haven't, in replacing any of our trees downtown or actually doing any of the grants, we haven't, cross your fingers, had to bag any of the trees and put water bags on them. Thank goodness we've had lots of copious amounts of rain, which is very unusual, as a lot of you here that are also native Tennesseans from Clarksville have noticed in the last 5 years we've had unusual weather change. If you don't believe in climate change, I'm sorry, I do. It's here. I can tell by all the trees that are continually stressed. I have had lots of people that have called me, my tree's dying, something's going on, what's wrong with it? It's here. We've had more than the amount of rain that we've actually needed. If you stop and think about it, the rain started roughly at about late October, November, and it's been raining through July. And how often has that actually happened here in Clarksville? I've been here since 1966 in city Clarksville. We've got here, my family was military when we got here. We bought the farm. And I can tell you it's changed. We don't have near the amount of snow that we do. We have more rain than what we actually need. The trees are stressed out. Even the native trees are stressed out that we have here in Clarksville, because they're not used to this type of weather. So over the past 5 years, they're actually starting to learn to acclimate. They're not used to the amount of rainfall we have. They're used to that rain drying up right about, say, last of April, 1st of May, and then you get all this dry spell with just a few little bitty rain showers in along through the summertime. And then, of course, your dry spell. Everybody's used to the dog days of summer in August and September. And then, it starts raining again, last September, 1st of October. Well, these trees aren't used to that. And these trees are starting to dry up. A lot of the leaves are falling off of them. I've got everybody that's starting to panic. My tree's dying in a lot of instances because the tree is already stressed. Yes, the tree has already started to die. And then you end up with a different type of disease in it. You may end up with different type of pests in that tree. And it hurts my soul to go tell you, yes, your tree's dying. What's really bad is the fact that a lot of people forget when they plant the new trees to water them. I get a lot of people who's like, well, I put this tree in the ground and I don't know what happened to it, but now it's starting to die. And I have to tell them, I'm like, well, you kind of didn't prune this tree, or you didn't take care of this tree the right way. I'll give you, for instance, I went to a gentleman's house and his trees were roughly, I'd say about 20 some odd years old. And I told him, I said, where's the tree at? And they were behind his house, and they were beautiful red maples. And I'm looking for a small tree that he's planted. And he shows me these huge trees about this size. Well, these trees are so big, they have come down and they have swooped all the way down and angel winged all the way up. And I looked at him and he said, yeah, they look bad, don't they? And I said, yes, sir, they do. He said, what should I have done? I said, well, you should have pruned them. There's proper pruning techniques for a tree. If you don't know that proper pruning technique, please feel free to call me. I will come to your house and I will show you the proper pruning techniques for those trees so you can save your trees. Everybody loves trees, so they want trees. But when I showed him what he had done wrong, of course, due to the fact that they had angel winged on them and there were so many holes and crevices, and then he had some disease that had got into the tree because of that, he had set his trees up for failure. And very nice older gentleman, and he said, so basically, he said, what you're telling me is I killed my own tree, right? And I was like, well, yeah, yes, sir, it's kind of hard to tell people that. He's like, just tell me the truth, So after talking to him, he said, would you help me come out the next time I get some trees and would you help me plant them? And I told him yes, and he did get some trees, and I went out there and I showed him how to plant the first one and got him through all that, and he was just tickled to death. But he did have to end up removing the older trees because there was nothing he could do with them due to the fact they were diseased. I think he cut them up for firewood is what he did for them. When you plant a new tree, if you do plant trees, remember to water those trees. Get a lot of people's like, they'll plant them and they'll just hope, I guess, that they will live in the backyard. I don't understand that part, but definitely water the tree. If it does not rain at least a little bit during the week, please take a bucket. I have a 5-gallon bucket. I've got a couple nail holes I put in the bottom of it, and I'll actually set it next to the tree. And my husband laughs at me. He says, we got this going all over my yard. And I'll fill up that 5-gallon bucket where that water will actually seep down into the tree. You don't have to buy an expensive watering bag whatsoever. You can use an old 5-gallon bucket. You can buy it at Lowe's, punch some holes in it, and water your tree like that, and it works. And if you do that twice a week and set that bucket near that tree and make sure that you actually use mulch. I advocate for mulching a new tree for the first 3 years. You want to make it roughly about 3 feet wide around the tree. You want to make it roughly about 3 inches deep, and you want to keep it 3 inches away from the bark. You do not want your mulch top to touch a tree because basically that's, set the tree up for failure. I've seen people take mulch and mound it up around the tree like a volcano. Worst thing you can do for a tree. There are several spots, if you look over, around the sides, you can see where they volcano mulch theirs. And I so want to talk to somebody about, hey, can you scrape some of the mulch back off of these? I run around after some of the different departments downtown after they do their trees, and I'm always trying to fix the mulch. So my hands are always black. I don't get good manicures because of that. But advocate for actually mulching the tree and watering the tree and taking care of it. I get a lot of people ask me, do you prune the tree? I don't prune any of the trees that I actually plant for the first 2 years. I let them work on actually establishing roots. You want those roots to become secure and in the ground and work on those before you actually work on the rest of the tree. I've got a lot of people ask me, do you fertilize the tree when you put it in the ground? No, I don't fertilize the trees for the first 2 years. And the only reason I don't do that is because I actually take a soil test before I plant most of our trees for downtown. And if there's anything wrong with that soil before I plant that tree, and you can do that soil test through the UT Extension, check with Carla Keene, she's our local horticulturist. She can actually send that soil sample away for you. Or you can actually get online, you can send it to them directly by yourself and put it in a little box and send it off. But a soil test is very important to make sure that you've got the right minerals and the right things in the soil that you need, and the pH is correct for whatever tree that you actually want to plant there. Make sure you do that first before you plant the tree. It'll take, I think, roughly about 2 weeks to get your soil sample analysis back, and then you can go ahead and make sure that the soil's correct. But make sure your soil's correct, make sure you water your tree, and after 2 years, make sure that you prune very little with your tree, and you want it to shape it the way you want it to shape. Trees in a forest, they naturally shape themselves. All these are pretty much shaped themselves the way they want to be shaped. But remember that a tree, to be a tree, it has to have what's called a central leader. If you look at some of the trees, this particular hackberry here that's got the no trespassing sign on it, it is a bifurcated tree, which means it has gone into 2 stems. To me, that's bush. That's not an actual complete, well-maintained tree. That tree is eventually going to give you problems. Now, the one to the far left there is actually going straight up. That's what you want. You want that one central leader in that tree. So if you prune that tree correctly and it's got that one central leader with the branches coming out correctly like it's supposed to in a tree shape, then you'll have an excellent tree for your backyard. And if you want to make sure that you well maintain it and prune it correctly, it should grow like it's supposed to. If you get a tree like that's starting to bend over here, if you get any type of snow or ice that actually hits that tree, it actually adds weight to that tree. So much weight per square pounds per inch, and actually after a while that tree will actually default or fail on you, and then you'll end up with it on your house or whatever. A lot of people ask me or tell me, they're like, well, I bet you have the most prettiest trees in the world. No. You ever heard of the shoemaker that his kids have no shoes? You go to my house, there's 35 trees around my house, and they look pretty much like some of the maples over there in the corner. I can't bring myself to go home and prune my trees back so severely. I love the shade. I love all the animals and the ecosystem I've made around the house. I recognize some of them need to be taken away and probably thinned out. I can't do it. My husband, he told me I get a lot of people that'll bring me trees, you know, that are half dying, and they're like, well, if you can make it grow, you can keep it, and I'll take them home. And so I've got another 20 on the outside of those with all the buckets next to it. So, and I'm always trying tree experiments, how to make trees grow, what kind of soil they actually need. There's no right or wrong way when you're talking about soil for trees. I've tried to do tree amendments and use different types of soils. The best soil to actually plant a tree in is just basically the native soil that it's come in. If you actually use the native soil that the tree is actually grown in to start with, which is this wonderful rocky Tennessee soil, that tree will actually grow better than it would if you actually put a whole lot of different amendments in it. That being said, now if you end up with a whole bed full of rocks, you are going to need a couple of amendments to actually get that tree started. So you can actually go down, you could buy you some gardening soil, not any type of potting soil to actually amend that tree with. Carly, how am I doing on time? Okay. I try to make sure that you get the right soil for the right tree. We've got a lot of folks here lately, and I've had to send them to UT Extension for a lot of stuff, that are willing to take their yards and actually add orchards. That was kind of new. That started about 4 years ago. I grow orchards. I've always grown orchards ever since I was a little girl. My father was into orchards, and we've always had our own apples and everything else. I grow my own orchards at home. Matter of fact, the house that we bought about 2 years ago, I was telling somebody earlier, the lady said that all the apple trees that had ever been planted there, she said they'd never produced apples. Well, 6 hives of bees later, and I've canned ain't no telling how many cases of apples a couple of weeks ago. I've made apple butter, apple bread, put up apples. I didn't get a lot of honey from my bees, but in return, I did get loads of apples. So like Roger said, you know, your yield for your garden, I mean, I've spent a whole last 6 weeks canning. I think I've got 42 cases of green beans and everything else. So, I mean, my bees tell my story. Now, the bees that I've got, I catch swarms. I started beekeeping several years ago. And I was going to do it for profit, and then after a while you realize as you're keeping bees, not trying to get off the trees a little bit, but you're not doing it for profit, you're doing it for the bees. You know, because you love bees, and you're trying to make sure that niche, that ecosystem actually stays there. There are trees that are great for bees and for bee pollination and for your native pollinators. I do give different educational talks on that. I do give talks and educational for Girl Scouts on composting, but I'll send them over here to Austin P next time I hear about it, and let Alex do it because I think she did a better job than I did. We do recycling. I have taught classes about bees and bats and other things. Master gardeners, I help with the master gardeners. We teach with the ornamentals and plants. So if you know of anybody that needs any type of continuing education, or Girl Scouts, or any type of tree badges or anything, I can do that for them. I do take my time out of the day to do that. I can do it on the afternoons. I do it on the weekends. I'm salary, so I'm always working, so it doesn't matter. But with that being said, does anybody have any questions? Yes, sir.
I don't even know if that's classified as a tree. What do you think about bamboo? I see some of this house like bamboo. How does bamboo grow in this area?
Bamboo does great because we have what's called a humid area. Now, I have people call me and they were mad at their neighbors because there is bamboo in the backyard and it's grown over underneath the ground because it's very prolific and it travels with a root system underground and into their neighbor's area, and they were very angry about it. Yeah. There are some that grows bigger, there are some that grows faster, so basically you'll have to do the research, and you have to figure out which is better for your yard, not to make your neighbor mad, is what I found out. So, recommending some. I can't recommend just one or two because I've researched it, but I haven't really gotten into the bamboo. I've just looked at it and gave best management practices for it, to be honest about it.
Is it classified as a tree, or is it more like classified as a shrub?
It's a grass. Yes, it's a grass. So, orchards, like I was talking about earlier, a lot of people are starting orchards. I can do an orchard. I can show you how to prune one. It's not a problem. Sphailures, which grow up on the side of the buildings, I had to go back and get a couple of books. I do have a gentleman that actually grows those, and I was not familiar with how those grow because that was actually started in France to limit the, France obviously had a limited amount of room to grow trees and orchards and fruit, and so they would grow them up the side of houses, and they would actually make them have arms and stair step them up the side of roofs. So I had to go back and purchase a book and learn how to do that. That was unusual and interesting, but I do have one gentleman that does failures, and he does get fruit off of those. So if you don't have a whole lot of space to grow an orchard, you can grow an espalier up the side of your house. Yes, ma'am.
We have found out that peach trees are great for catching bee swarms.
Peach trees?
Peach trees.
Yes.
And you can catch your own God-given swarm instead of being swarmed.
Yes.
Who knows?
And that's what I did all year long. All my orchard trees caught swarms all year long, and I don't know what it was about them. And somebody told me that, and I'm not, Roger, I don't know how much truth there is to it. Once you start keeping bees, that the other bees will smell them and come your way. So I don't know, but I caught several swarms. I kept them, so I added to the original 6 that I had, and now I've got 12. So I feel like Roger. I want to come out of winter with all those bees. Because it's going to help pollinate my next orchard for I planted more apple trees for next year. I did start a small grove of trees behind my office, off some of the ones that were left over last year from Tennessee Tree Day. We do help do the distributing for Tennessee Tree Day for Tennessee Environmental Council. We're working with Green Interchange right now to help distribute some trees not too far from now. I think there's going to be a small donation for those, but I think some apple trees are going to be in those. So keep your eye out on the city website for social media, so we'll actually post that so y'all will know when that's coming. We do Arbor Day. We order trees from the East Tennessee Nursery. We get, I think we got rid of 1,300 last year in less than 2 hours and 20 minutes. Due to COVID, which COVID teaches great things, we decided to do a drive-through of the Straight Run Mansion. You filled out a slip, and we brought the trees to you. Best thing ever, I thought. And people didn't run all over each other. It was great. We filled your order. We got it to your car, and 1,300 trees were gone in 2 hours, 20 minutes. Awesome. We're going to have that again next year, probably about the first Friday of March. So they're free. They're bare root seedlings. So keep your eye on that for social media, and we'll be giving away those too. Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any experience with pawpaw trees, or where I could find some more pawpaw trees?
Yes, I have experience with pawpaw trees. I used to grow pawpaw trees. Pawpaw trees are kind of hard to grow, if you haven't noticed. Pawpaw trees love this type of area to grow right here. They are more of an understory tree. They don't like straight sunlight. You can start them by seeds, but you'll have to scarify the seeds and put them up for 6 months. There's a certain way you have to actually get that pawpaw tree to actually grow. I want to order some this year, but I haven't seen it on the list, and we're thinking about ordering from a company out of Missouri and maybe seeing if we can't get some. Like I said, keep up with social media, and I'll see what I can get. I've got to order those in the next couple months.
We sell a limited number of pawpaw trees at the Awesome Pea sale that we're collecting seeds from our pawpaws, so we'll be sharing information on that. But ours are small that we sell, and people have had luck. Our pawpaws are doing well on campus, but we've got a person who that's his. Yeah, our grounds director. Pawpaws are his thing.
How hard are these to transplant? Because I have one that I planted in the wrong area, so it has like exploded, and that's what I'm taking care of this afternoon.
So is it doing good, is what you're saying, or is it doing bad?
No, it's doing great, but it's doing, it sounds crazy, it's doing too great, and it's like completely taken over this whole little section on the corner of our house.
But that's good.
Which is it's good, but it's getting way too big. I thought it was, because I got it when it was this big with no leaves.
Okay.
I was told it was a dogwood. that's not a dogwood. And because I just kept getting all these shoots, and now I'm like, yeah, it ain't a dogwood. That's pawpaw.
Call me. I can give you my card for leave, and
Okay.
I can actually go. We can do some constructive pruning to make sure that that tree does what it's supposed to do and does the evasive toward your house.
And don't try to transplant it till it's dormant.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was just looking at it, and I'm like, oh my.
And a lot of trees also, you know, if you do buy a tree at Lowe's, make sure that, you know, when you plant that tree, that it's between the October, November, December, and January and February. If you try to buy a tree and plant it in the spring, it's not got a great root system. You want to work on building that root system when it's cold outside and those roots are actually working through the ground, versus actually planting in the spring. You'll have more of a failure in spring trees than what you do in the winter trees when you plant those. So, any more questions, or if you have anything else that you need, or you want me to come look at a tree, or you have diseased tree, let me know. I've got cards up there at my table, and I'll give you one, and you can call me, and I'll come out and look at your stuff. Okay?